Hello, welcome back to Jojo's Homemaker and Lifestyle. Today I'm doing another midweek cruise Q&A as I had some lovely comments and a couple of follow-up questions on my last cruise vlog from the 21st of January. So I thought I'd answer those properly today. Before I start, I just want to say a huge thank you for all your kind comments. I really do appreciate them. And it honestly means so much that you enjoy these cruise chats and find them helpful as well. I'm going to start with a comment from Susan, who mentioned concerns about recent virus outbreaks on cruise ships and explained that she's brought some Clinell product to take on board, especially as her husband is diabetic. I do completely understand this, and I think it's a very sensible and personal choice. Cruise ships already have very high cleaning standards, and you'll see hand washing stations and staff encouraging hygiene before entering restaurants. That said, bringing your own wipes or hand gel on board is never a bad idea. Better to be safe than sorry, I think, particularly if it gives you extra peace of mind, or if someone in your party has health concerns. Everyone has their own comfort level, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing what makes you feel more at ease while travelling. Susan also mentioned that she's cruising on the Britannia for the first time, having previously sailed on the Orvia after watching my vlogs, which honestly really did make me smile so much. It made my day, it honestly did. I haven't been on the Britannia myself yet, so I'd absolutely love to hear what you think once you've been on it. And it sounds like you've well and truly caught the bug, the cruise bug, Susan. So as I say, enjoy, especially with more books already and in the pipeline. Another question that came up was from Armchair Jockey, who asked whether you have to register a debit or credit card with the cruise company when you check in. Well, that's a really good question. On P&O cruises, yes, you do register a debit or credit card at check-in. This card is linked to your Onboard account, which works like a running tab throughout your cruise. When you board, you're given your cruise card, and this is used for everything on board. Drinks, specialty dining, spa treatments, excursions, and shopping. You don't pay as you go, it all goes onto that Onboard account. One thing I do really like about P&O is that you can keep track of your spending very, very easily. You can check your Onboard account using the P&O app on your phone, on the interactive TV in your cabin, or by visiting guest services. Near the end of the cruise, P&O also deliver a printed statement to your cabin showing what you've spent so far, which is really handy for checking everything before disembarkation. Although a card is registered at the check-in, you can also add cash to your Onboard account once you're on board by visiting guest services, if you prefer to manage your spending that way. At the end of the cruise, any final balance is settled automatically using the card you registered. It's all very straightforward once you're on board, but it's a great question all the same because it's not always explained clearly beforehand, although you can register your card before you embark the ship on your cruise personalizer online. The final question was from Pat, and she asked a really good follow-up question about choosing a midship cabin for least movement. and whether that applies to all decks. Yes, it does. It applies to all decks. Midship simply means the middle of the ship, from front to back. If you imagine the ship is a long rectangle, the centre section is where you'll usually feel the least movement. That applies across all deck cabins. So whether your cabin is the lower deck or a higher deck, being located in the middle section of the ship really will generally feel a lot more stable than cabins right at the front or right at the back. It's a really useful tip for anyone who's worried about motion at sea. Before I finish, I thought I'd also share a few things that personally surprised me on my first few cruises, because these are things nobody really mentions beforehand. One thing that surprised me was just how quickly you settle into life on board. Within a day or two, the ship really does start to feel like a little floating hotel, and everything becomes more familiar, from finding your way around to knowing which restaurants you enjoy the most. Another thing that surprised me was how relaxed the atmosphere feels. Even on formal nights, there's no pressure to dress up, dress a certain way. You'll see people in full evening wear and others dressed much more casual. And both are absolutely fine. I was also surprised by how friendly people are on cruises. It's very easy to strike up conversations, especially in lounges or on sea days, and I've found that people are always happy to share tips or experiences. And finally, I was surprised by how quickly time goes. Days seem to fly by, which is why I always say don't feel you have to do everything. Pick what you enjoy and just take it at your own pace. I also thought I'd mention a few little things I always do now on every cruise, which might be helpful if you're new to cruising. And when I say what I enjoy and what I do, I'm meaning myself and Ade. One thing I always do is take a few minutes on the first day to explore the ship properly. I like to walk each deck and get my bearings because it makes the rest of the cruise feel so much more relaxed. I'd highly recommend that. I also make a habit of checking the daily schedule each evening, either on the app or on the TV, or on the Horizon, which is a little paper that you get delivered every day to your cabin. And myself and Ade love looking through that every evening. And we go through it and we just circle one or two things that we might like to do the next day. That way we don't feel overwhelmed. Another thing I like to do is keep a very loose routine. I'll often have a favourite spot for a morning coffee or an afternoon drink, especially on sea days, and it becomes a nice little ritual during the cruise that we both enjoy. And finally, I always remind myself that it's my holiday, or our holiday in our case. If I want a quiet day, I take one. If I want to be busy, I can be. There's no right or wrong way to cruise. So please bear that in mind. Thank you so much again for all your lovely comments and questions. If you have any cruise questions at all or tips, whether you're brand new to cruising or have cruised before, please pop them in the comments. And any questions, I'll answer them in the next midweek Q&A. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps support my little corner of YouTube. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks again. Bye bye.